welcome to my vlog. My name is Faith, and I'm starting this just to talk a little bit about my life and the direction that I'm going. But mostly, this vlog is for me. I want to have a way to look back on this experience that I'm about to, undertake. And just to be able to cherish these moments that I am going to experience. And I don't trust myself to write a real blog. I can never keep up with that sort of thing, so I'm doing this instead. Bear with me though, I was a history major, and so I have absolutely no idea how to work my computer, let alone edit or make a vlog. But it took me about an hour to figure out how to put text on the screen, but now that I figured that out, I think that, the whole world is in front of me. I guess to start off with, I recently have graduated from Greenville University, and I have a Bachelor's of Arts in History Political Science and a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice. I graduated with a 3.99 GPA. That A- freshman year really got me. But yeah, so I guess I'll give a little background about myself. I feel like most people that would watch this are going to know me, but in the off chance that I become YouTube famous, I guess this will be helpful. So, when I went to Greenville my freshman year, my end goal was always law school. I have kind of wanted to go to law school since I was in high school. If you'd asked me when I was a little kid, I would have told you that I wanted to grow up and be a teacher, which is kind of funny considering now that's kind of where I'm headed. Yeah, but I really wanted to go to law school. And so then I did my freshman, sophomore year at Greenville. Nothing really changed. And then my junior year, I went to Washington, D.C., and I studied there for a semester, and I interned at this really phenomenal nonprofit called CARE Coalition, and CARE stands for Capital Area Immigrants' Rights. And it was just a phenomenal nonprofit that's doing really amazing work in DC. And if you are interested in that sort of thing, I encourage you to go check them out because they do really, really great work. Yeah, but working at CARE kind of changed the direction that I wanted to go with my life. I think before I saw myself doing big corporate law, making a lot of money, and then, building up my savings, and then, I don't know, maybe going and, saving the world or something. But CARE kind of showed me how to look at things a little differently, and there was one of the attorneys there who had done the Peace Corps, and he had really good things to say about his experience, but mostly what I took from our conversations was that I should do something else before I go to law school. He said a lot of times in our office that I was going to be in law school for a long time, for 3 years or so, but then I was going to be a lawyer for a really long time, and he just really encouraged me to look at other options and look at things that maybe I could do before becoming a lawyer, that would, change how I see the world or things like that. So after I got back from DC, I started looking into abroad options. I had visited the Dominican Republic with my church, and I had really enjoyed, that short-term abroad experience, and I had been studying Spanish for about a year, and so I thought that maybe with Spanish under my belt, I would be able to, apply for some of those, abroad fellowships type things that allow you to do sort of a gap year or two, with little to no expense to yourself, and then, getting that kind of experience that allows you to do something, but something that is kind of doesn't cost a ton of money was kind of what I was looking for. And so I applied for the Peace Corps probably in March of my junior year. And the Peace Corps has kind of two general routes that you can take. You can either apply for a specific posting, so English education teacher in Costa Rica. Or you can fill out a general application. And the general application kind of it asks you what countries you're interested in going to, or what your general skills are. You have to upload an aspiration statement and a resume. It's a pretty in-depth application. And I chose to do that mostly just because I'd done some research and read some blogs on the internet, and they had all said that it's really difficult to get selected in general, but it's much more difficult to get selected when you apply to a specific job posting rather than doing a general application. So I did a general application because I kind of, one, never really expected to get in, and two, just really did not care. I kind of just leaned on this idea that if this was meant to work out, it was going to work out. And so if I fill out a general application and they match me with somewhere and I'm supposed to go there, then it's going to work out that way. And that's kind of how I live my whole life. Sometimes it's not the most practical, but it's worked for me so far. Yeah, so I was probably in March, and I probably didn't hear anything for maybe a couple months. I think maybe in May, they sent me an email, and it just said, you're being considered for an English education position in Nepal. That was a wild email. I was actually at lunch with one of my former bosses, and I was like, I don't know. And literally the first thing I said out loud was, I'm not 100% sure if I can find Nepal on a map. I can now. I can find Nepal on a map. Mount Everest is there. After that, the email was pretty vague. It just was like, you're being considered. If we think that you might be a good fit, we will reach out to you for an interview. And so I was like, okay, so basically nothing has happened in my application process except maybe I'll get an interview. And I kind of psyched myself out reading blogs and stuff online saying that like the Peace Corps is crazy hard to get into and people have to apply like 3 or 4 times to get, accepted. And then there's also a bunch of stuff about how I should have met with a recruiter and how recruiters can help you, tailor your application and all these things. And I did none of them. I just like filled it out. I probably had my mom read over my resume and my cover letter, and then I just submitted it. Yeah, and so then I think probably at least a couple more months pass, and they emailed me, I think at some point, saying that they were going to reach out to my references, and then eventually they emailed me while I was in San Antonio, Texas, working over the summer, and they asked if they could have an interview with me, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. And so I signed up for an interview time. They use this like Skype software, and as previously mentioned, I do not know how to work technology or my computer, and so I spent several hours trying to figure out the Skype software, and then I thought that I had it figured out. My interview came, and I couldn't figure it out. I could not figure out how to get like my face to go on the screen. Nothing was happening correctly, and eventually the woman who was interviewing me just said, you know what, why don't I just call you? And I was like, yeah, probably better. I do know how to work my cell phone. I'm so sorry. And so we talked on the phone for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. It was definitely the longest interview I've ever had. There were like 4 sections. And yeah, there were some pretty intense questions. And they asked me to talk about my commitment and to talk about why I wanted to do this. And questions that I definitely had answers to, but some questions that I didn't. Like at one point in my interview, she asked me how I felt about squat toilets. I didn't even know what a squat toilet was. I do know now what a squat toilet is. And basically my answer to that was, I think it's going to be humbling, I think it's going to be hard, but the entire country of Nepal is making it, so I think that I'll be fine. And I think that's kind of been my attitude ever since. Several people in my family, or like my extended family and my friends, have asked me how I'm gonna like deal or cope with like not having random things that we in the United States think are like really important. And I think at some points I'm gonna like really miss hot showers, and I'm gonna really miss toilet paper. And probably like I'm gonna miss a million things. But I think none of those really matter that much. And I think toilets and toilet paper and hot water are just things that we can do without. And so I think humbling and hard is definitely going to be my motto, but also super worth it. And so I felt pretty good about the interview. I called my mom, I think, and I was just like, yeah, I think it went okay, but I still had myself totally psyched out about just the fact that not that many people make it into the Peace Corps. I think like the statistic that I read most recently was 1 in 6. And then that 1 in 6 probably like met with a recruiter. Oh, and then at the end of my interview, they said, I asked when I would know if I had made it. And they said I would know by September 1st. This was probably July, maybe the middle of July. I think the middle of July is when I had my interview. And they were like, September 1st. And that seemed just like a million years away then. And I was just like, that's crazy. Like, how am I supposed to prep for graduation in December if I don't know if I've done this? Like, how am I supposed to apply for jobs if I'm also like, but I might not really want this job because I might be like moving to Nepal. And so that stressed me out a lot. I don't like waiting. I'm not super patient. So it was hard. But it actually didn't take that long at all. I think the end of July probably, they sent me an email offering me the position, and they said that pending medical and legal clearance, they wanted me to come teach English to kids in Nepal. And I had like 48 hours, I think, is what they give you to either sign the contract or to like deny it. And yeah, I signed it. I signed it basically right away. There was never really any doubt in my mind that if I was offered this position, I was going to accept it. And I think just because, like I said earlier, like, this is just kind of how I live my life. I live my life just believing that there's a plan or there's a purpose or that my life's going somewhere. And I just, I put my faith in that. And everything for this worked out so plainly to me that it just seemed like this was the next right thing for me. Cue the Frozen quote. Frozen 2 was super good. Go see it. Anyway, this is the next right thing for me. And that's, that I talked about that a lot in my aspiration statement, just that everything in my life that I've done, I feel like led to the next thing, and that I didn't need to know where my life was going to end up in 15 years. I just needed to know the next step. And, I think that the Peace Corps is the next step for me. And so since then, since the end of July when I accepted this, it has been a big roller coaster of emotions. My mom and I have cried a lot. I think I've cried more in the past couple months than I have probably my entire life, maybe besides like when I was an infant. And it's just been a lot of really, really hard moments. I had my last semester at Greenville, and I couldn't have asked for a better semester. I just got to spend time with some of the best people, and just really live in the moment is what I tried to do this last semester. And yeah, I had to go to the doctor more times than I think I've gone in the last 10 years. And I had to get fingerprinted, and I did all these crazy things. But now I'm completely cleared, and I'm supposed to get my plane information in the next week or so. And I couldn't be more excited. Thank you so much for watching. I'm hoping to post pretty regularly. I probably won't post again until closer to my departure date, but I'm hoping to do one on packing, and then once I get to Nepal, I'm hoping to post pretty regularly. Yeah, like and subscribe. I think that's what you're supposed to do on YouTube. And then feel free to follow me on Instagram. That's where I think I'll post the most often. And yeah, if you're a praying person, I just ask that you keep me in your prayers along with my family during this time. And if you're not, send me the good vibes. Thank you.